Stephanie Poole teaches fourth grade at a public school in Washington State. Since adopting 3 black children, the white suburban mom has learned some uncomfortable lessons about how race affects perceptions of a student's behavior or academic performance. Research shows adopted kids are more likely than others to experience learning and behavioral problems, and black children are more likely than their white peers to be disciplined for such problems. In part 3 of our adoption series, VOA producer Claire Morin-Gibourg has more details. Haiti Adams-Fitzpatrick narrates.
And one of my best friends came over to me and said, "Timmy just said she doesn't want to be a friend because you're black." That made me get mad and go walk out of class sometimes. And I would just go out of school and stuff.
So this is the behavior I was talking about. She would get punished for leaving class when class was an environment where kids were calling her out for the color of her skin.
Niara is the second of Stephanie Poole's 3 adopted children. The family lives in Seattle, Washington State. Stephanie teaches 4th grade at a suburban public school. Motherhood has taught her some hard lessons about how race can influence people's perceptions of a student's behavior or academic performance. She knows because she's seen it before with her son.
Yeah, Carter's already internalized that and said, I don't want to be black. And that's a horrible thing to hear your son say, that he doesn't want to be who he is, you know.
Like Niara, Carter has an attention deficit disorder and trauma-related problems. A school district psychiatrist evaluated him and said he had tendencies to be violent, aggressive and disruptive. Stephanie insisted those labels be removed from her son's specialized education plan.
I went right to the special ed department and said, I want these taken off, because this is literally the school to prison pipeline where we're talking about how can you list these descriptors of violent for a 6-year-old boy.
Nicholas Zill is a research psychologist in Washington. He's the co-author of a study for the University of Virginia's Institute for Family Studies that focuses on the academic performance of adopted children. There's extensive research on the subject. It shows adopted children are more likely to have learning and behavioral issues than other students.
The thing that's striking is that with many, a large minority and even a majority of adopted children often have behavioral issues in the classroom, and they have some difficulty getting along with other children at a higher rate than biological children do.
As a teacher and a mother, Stephanie knows some children struggle in school, but she sees the education system as a big part of the problem.
If you look at the curriculum, it's mostly white. If you look at books, they're mostly white. And all of these things just disenfranchise our kids of color year after year after year.
Researcher Constance Lindsay says having a teacher of the same race can improve student outcomes. She was part of a team that analyzed the records of more than 100,000 black students in elementary and high schools. Those who had at least one black teacher had better results. Lindsay says it's the role model effect.
If you're growing up in a home that doesn't have a college-educated black person and you're able to see one at school who's your teacher, that might signal to you that, hey, I can do this too. If you have a white teacher who isn't trained in cultural competency and how to work with diverse students, it might be harmful for students.
Stephanie says they've flourished since moving from their Seattle neighborhood school to the Highline School District where she teaches, and where she says staff are trained to be sensitive to racial equity.
How much institutionalized racism is in our school structure is absolutely phenomenal. And I never had to realize that before I had black kids. And yet this has been the truth for all black families as far back as we can remember. But because I'm white, I never had to look at that.
Well, VOA reporter Claire Morin-Gibourg now joins me to tell us more about her experience producing the Interracial series. Claire, welcome to Africa 54, and forgive me for murdering your name.
No,
I feel like
you say it right.
French right now. So, tell us, this is a very fascinating series. What was it like for you? What are some of the things perhaps we may not realize through the stories that you learned or that you found very interesting?
As a journalist, it was a fantastic human experience. I was so lucky to meet so many beautiful families. At the same time, it was sad to realize that in 2018, in America, being black, it's still challenging. Bias and discrimination are still a major issue. I have to say that the most striking thing was to realize how powerless white parents are when they are confronted to racism, and they did not understand well at first.
And you know, people may say there are other interracial adoptions, could be Asian kids and all that. Is the black and white situation particularly challenging or interesting to observe?
It definitely is. Transracial adoption means that adopted kids do not share the same race as their adoptive parents. So you can have any combination possible. You have like Asian parents who can adopt Latino kids, but definitely we wanted to focus on one parent adopted black kids because this is where there are the most issues. I will give you just an example. If you have a black, especially with black boy, if you have a teenager at home and suddenly a burglar just break into the house, could he safely call the police? No. Yeah. So you have to teach him that if he is black, the police can think he is the intruder and shoot him. Stories happen all the time. So this is a very different way of raising your kid.
Yeah, you're kind of dealing with your own child, but you have to make them realize they're not like you. That's it. That's pathetic. What can we expect in the rest of the series?
So tomorrow we will focus on police brutality. We will meet Alex Lando in Denver. At 19, he was just going to get burger with a friend and he was almost beaten to death by police. He survived and became one of the most prominent right activists in Denver. So a fascinating story. And on Friday, we focused on the quest of origin.
Yeah. Everybody wants to know where they came from.
Yeah,
right? Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you. Claire, appreciate very much for you coming here. So as we just mentioned, Claire Morin-Gibourg's adoption series continues on Thursday with part 4. Now, at 19, Alex Lando was beaten by police in Denver, Colorado, after being stopped for an alleged traffic violation. Now, the incident transformed the young black man, not just because he won a hefty judgment against the city. Now he teaches young people and their parents about civil rights. His own white parents reflect on what they now call their naivete in thinking they could protect their son from racial bias. You don't want to miss this one, so be sure to join us on Thursday.